Standard deviation of a population. The definition of the standard deviation in the previous formula is applied to the standard deviation of sample data. Now, a different formula is used to calculate the standard deviation of a population. Instead of dividing by n-1 for a sample, we divide by the population size, capital N. And here's our formula. For the population standard deviation, it's equal to the square root of the sum of the quantity of the data value minus the population mean squared divided by the population size. Now, because we generally deal with sample data, we will usually use the formula in which we divide by n-1. Many calculators and statistical software such as StatCrunch give both the sample standard deviation and the population standard deviation, but they use a variety of different notations. Now, caution, when using a calculator or statistical software such as StatCrunch, to find the standard deviation, you want to identify the notation used by your calculator or software so that you get the sample standard deviation, not the population standard deviation. So I have some displays here. Now, if you are using a TI-8384 calculator, which would be the following, the S subscript X represents the sample standard deviation. So in this case here, it would be 2.690. And then here is sigma subscript X, which would be the population standard deviation. Now for StatCrunch, it's really important to understand the difference here. More than likely, you're just going to be using one of them more than the other. But for StatCrunch, if you want to find the population standard deviation, you're going to select the unadjusted standard deviation because that represents the population standard deviation. Now, the standard deviation here would be the sample standard deviation. So more than likely, you'll be using this more often than the population, but you got to pay close attention in this section when they're asking for specifically the population standard deviation. Again, when you're using StatCrunch.